Masahiro Sakurai, the man, the legend himself, the creator of the greatest video game series of all time, known for his hard work in video game developing, getting his start by creating Kirby, and of course, the series that made him the man he is today, the game that we all know and love. So what is the best Smash Bros. Game? Yeah, so that's the question we will be answering today on the channel, is what is the best Smash Bros. Game? Now, I know what y'all might be thinking, everyone has their favorite Smash Bros. Game, either the one that they grew up with and have the most nostalgia for, or they just personally think that whatever their favorite is their favorite. And that's totally fine. That's your opinion. That's your own thoughts and what you think is the best game, and that's totally fine. But I'm going to be giving my thoughts and opinions on what is the best Smash Bros. Game. And I know you might be thinking, oh yeah, the guy that grew up with the Wii is probably going to pick Smash Bros. Brawl, or probably 3DS because he grew up with the 3DS. You don't know that. You don't know what I'm going to pick. That's a good guess, but that's not what we're doing here. So let's get into it. So to start off, we gotta start off from the beginning. From the very start of this series, when it was created back in 1999. Back on the N64 with Super Smash Bros. On the N64. This was the game that started it all. And of course, the creator of Kirby, Masahiro Sakurai, was the one that came together with a bunch of his Nintendo friends and came up with the idea of Super Smash Bros. And of course, Super Smash Bros. Isn't just the best fighting game of all time. It's also a celebration of all of the Nintendo games, all the Nintendo characters coming into one. And that's what Super Smash Bros. Is. It's pretty much like if all the Nintendo characters were all in a connected like multiverse or something, and they all just came together for this game, kind of like a movie, if you know what I mean. But yeah, so Super Smash Bros. On the N64, the very first game that started it all. This game had, of course, its base main characters that have been in the game since the first one, obviously. And of course there was 12 main characters, which were all first-party Nintendo characters that everyone knew very well. And of course, gameplay-wise, you have your N64 controller. Hang on, I have one right here. You have this thing. Still don't know how people used this thing back then, but I've tried. I've played Super Smash Bros. On the N64, and of course I've had fun doing that. So gameplay wise, it's not terrible. It's also not the best either. But it was the first game. It's a little, the controls are a little janky, if you know what I mean, but that's okay because this was the first game, and we're going to excuse that because this is the game that started it all. And so without this one, you don't have the rest of the Smash Bros. Games. But yeah, so graphics wise, it's on the N64. It's not very good. Especially for the time when the PS1 came out and we're already producing better graphics than Nintendo were. And of course all their games were on disc, and of course Nintendo was still using cartridges. But they used all of the 3D models from all of their other games, of course, like Super Mario 64, all of that, and they just used all of those old original 3D models and threw them into this game. And so, of course, graphically wise, it's definitely outdated for sure. But no, that's part of the fun. Is looking back on these old games and just seeing what they did for their franchise. Now, of course, we have modes. There's really not too much into this game. Like I said already, like 10 times, this is the first game. So there's not too much going on. I mean, you can play single player against the CPUs. That's always something you can do. And of course, you can play with your friends, plug in all the controllers and play with each other and, smash it out, I guess. Take that as what you will. But yeah, so Super Smash Bros. On the N64, the game that started the franchise off. Now, of course, the next game that is very well known by many people and is very loved still to this day. Of course, it's the sequel to Super Smash Bros. On the N64. Yep, that's right. Super Smash Bros. Melee, the sequel to the original Smash Bros., or other known as Super Smash Bros. 2. This game was a big game changer in the franchise. It did a lot for this series and for these games. It's a big step up. Well, I mean, I guess technically all of the games after the first one keep stepping it up in a whole new way that you can't even imagine, because these games get a lot more crazier. But yeah, so Super Smash Bros. Melee. This game, like I said, is very well known. It's very loved to this day still. A lot of people would say this is the best Smash Bros. Game of all time. That's either the people that grew up with the game, that have a lot of nostalgia for the game, or people who genuinely think this is the best Smash Bros. Game because of how competitive it is. And that's because there are, still to this day, they have tournaments hosted for this game just because of, the competitiveness of this game. And I think it's really cool. I think it's awesome. But that also comes with a lot of controversy around this game. And so, with Nintendo Online for the GameCube that's on Switch 2, I don't know if Smash Bros. Melee will ever go to that, just because of the amount of controversy is around this game. But we're not going to get into all that. But yeah, so Super Smash Bros. Melee was on the GameCube, and for a game that, I guess, when you think about the GameCube, when you think about the GameCube console, there are only a few games that kind of stand out as the GameCube game, the most well-known one. There's a few. You might say Super Mario Sunshine, you might say Luigi's Mansion, or Mario Kart Double Dash. But when I think of the GameCube, and I think a lot of people could say the same thing about it, is Super Smash Bros. Melee. Yeah, Super Smash Bros. Melee is the GameCube game. It's the most known for the GameCube, especially for this bad boy of a controller, which is still used to this day. And when Super Smash Bros. Ultimate came out on the Switch, they even made a GameCube controller that would work for the Switch for Smash Bros. And I honestly preferred using that controller over the Switch 1 Pro controller, just because of, one, how comfortable this thing is, and two, it just felt like this controller was meant for Smash Bros. For some reason. And I don't think that was the case when they made the controller. But I don't know, that might just be a Sakurai thing. He might have just cooked this thing up and was like, yeah, we're gonna make this controller like the Smash Bros. Controller, if you know what I mean. And so, of course, they even brought it back again with the Nintendo Online that we were just talking about, where you can buy the official GameCube controller for that. And so, yeah, this Smash Bros. Game stepped it up, of course, a lot by having 26 playable characters. Of course, they're still all first-party Nintendo characters in this. They just increased the amount quite a bit with how many characters you can play as. Of course, you have your regular 4-player with your friends. You can do first-person mode where you fight against the computers. And of course, graphics-wise, it's stepped up quite a bit. Of course, Nintendo's not using cartridges anymore. They're using discs, but they're super tiny. That's just how the GameCube was. But I think they're kind of cool. One, because I didn't even grow up with the GameCube. And looking back on like these little tiny discs, I think it's pretty cool. But yeah, so, and then of course you have all of the modes that they added for this game. And are still played to this day and still loved to this day. And people still really enjoy this game. This is still considered the best Smash Bros. Game by a lot of people, and that's totally fine. This game, Smash Bros. Melee, it's a masterpiece, absolute masterpiece, I will say. So yeah, Super Smash Bros. Melee. Now that brings us to the next game, which is the third game of the series, and that is, of course, on the Wii. Of course, that game is Super Smash Bros. Brawl. This, of course, is the third game in the Smash Bros. Series, and is the whole trilogy. This completes the trilogy of the Smash Bros. Games. And as a third entry in the series, as a third game to complete the trilogy back then on the Wii, I think this game did a good job of doing that. And of course, this game at the time when it came out was kind of hated by a lot of people, and a lot of people really didn't like this game at all and didn't really enjoy it. And I think that's just because people just wanted to hate on it, just to hate on it. And those were the people that have like a weird relationship with Smash Bros. Melee. Like, I don't know how I'd like to describe it. Like, those people will die for Smash Bros. Melee. And I know, I'm the guy that grew up with the Wii, and this was the Smash Bros. Game that I grew up with. But I really don't have a lot of memories, like early memories playing Smash Bros. Brawl. Like, yeah, I have memories nowadays from like playing it more recently. But like playing this game as a kid, I mean, I can kind of remember playing it, but not really. I mean, this game came out in 2008. I kind of remember when it came out. There really wasn't. I don't really remember the hype around this game at all. But Smash Bros. Brawl, that's not like hating on the game. Like, I love Smash Bros. Brawl. It's like obviously one of my favorites, and that's not a bad thing. But you know, of course, you had the good old Wii remote that you had to play it on, and you know that wasn't the best to play on. That wasn't very fun. But Smash Bros. Brawl was, of course, very unique in its own way, and I think every Smash Bros. Game is like that. But Smash Bros. Brawl, of course, you had all of your characters returning from the previous two games, and of course adding a lot more. And you have 39 playable characters in this game, which is a big step up, of course. And like I said before, these games continue to progress and get bigger and bigger each game. And of course, that's always a good thing. They're not going backwards, they're going forward. They're keeping the game series alive, and that's why everyone loves these games. And of course, gameplay wise, like I said, you got the good old Wii remote, so that's all right, I guess. That's okay. It's not the best. Graphics wise, it's obviously improved quite a bit. It's still on the Wii. Now they're using actual discs this time around. The actual bigger DVD disc. For some reason, Nintendo was always weird about discs. We're not gonna get into all that. It's a story for another day. Yeah. So graphics-wise, look good. Modes. There's the modes in this game were just okay. They weren't the best compared to Melee. I think Melee does a better job with the mode selections that it has. But there is one mode that of course stands out the most to everyone, I would say, to quite a few people, including myself, that I love and will go back and play every now and then. And of course, that is the story mode that it added in this game. And you can say there's a story mode in each game, but like with Smash 64, you go through like the regular playthrough. You beat Master Hand. Smash Melee is the same thing. You go through it, you beat Master Hand and Crazy Hand. Bada bing, bada boom. This has an actual story mode with actual full-on cutscenes. And these cutscenes are insane. And sometimes I'll even go back, like go on YouTube or something, and you can find like a video where it has all the cutscenes put together and into like one full movie. And it's just fun to watch. Like, bring it back. And that, of course, was called Subspace Emissary, and I think was very fun. At the time, I guess people just didn't care for it that much and just didn't like it. I love it. Seeing all those characters, all these Nintendo characters interacting with each other was the funnest thing to see on screen. With all the cutscenes that they had, it was just fun. I mean, yeah, there's no voice acting, of course, or anything, but who cares? None of these characters really talk anyways in their game, except like nowadays in their most recent game. Like, you could talk about Zelda, like Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom. Yeah, of course, there's voice acting now, but like back then, it was like the Wii era, so like Twilight Princess, there really wasn't any voice acting at all, actually. So who cares if there's voice acting? But seeing all the characters' interactions, and of course they're very emoted because there's no voices, and I think it was fun. Of course, the main villain of it was Taboo, and of course you had all of the villains from some of these games, like Bowser, Ganondorf, all of these villains coming together and working for Taboo, and of course are now playable characters in this game that are added. And I think even Solid Snake from Metal Gear Solid was in this game too. I think that was the game his first appearance was in Smash Bros. Brawl. But yeah, so yeah, that's Smash Bros. Brawl. Now we're on to the next game, the next Smash Bros. Game in the series, and that, of course, is on the Wii U. Yep. So the next game is on the Wii U. I guess it's also on the 3DS. Can't forget that, of course. But this is considered to be known as Smash Bros. 4, because it's on two separate systems, which was on the 3DS and the Wii U. And if you've watched my channel, you know I never owned a Wii U at the time, because I don't know, I just didn't care for it all that much. But I did have a 3DS, and I do have a lot of early memories of the 3DS, and I remember playing the 3DS. So Smash Bros. 4 came out first on the 3DS, like I think it was like a few months before it came on the Wii U. And that's this. If you can see it, I lost the case for it. I think I was looking all over, and I guess I just couldn't find it. So yeah, Smash Bros. 4 on the little cartridge for 3DS, and of course, a few months later, they had Smash Bros. For the Wii U also, which is this. Yeah, and of course they were still using the discs, the DVDs. So yeah, Smash on the Wii U. I want to talk about the Wii U first, because like I said, never owned a Wii U when it came out. But I do have some memories playing Smash Wii U. Either it was like at a family member or a friend. I remember going over to their house, or like a family member bringing their Wii U over, and we would all play Smash Bros. On the Wii U together. And we all had fun doing it. It's Smash Bros. There was really nothing special to Smash Bros. On the Wii U, because of course I had the 3DS version, and that's the game I spent countless amount of hours in and played a lot. These two are pretty much the exact same. There are a few differences with like their modes that they have, but we'll get into that in a sec. But first, the characters that are in this game. There are 51 characters added to this game. Of course, all the characters from previous games come back. Of course, they're adding more characters from newer Nintendo IP, newer Nintendo franchises, and throwing them into this game to build on the roster that was already growing and getting bigger. And of course, a little bit later, they announced DLC for these games, and there were 7 DLC characters, which made the total of characters playable was 58 in both games, which is insane. Graphics wise, the Wii U version was clearly better because it's on a home console that can run things a lot better. And of course, Smash 3DS, that was all fit on this tiny little cartridge for the tiny little 3DS. I will say, putting a Smash Bros. Game on a 3DS, I will say this, graphics wise, looking back, it's not great. But when I was younger, I didn't care for it that much. It didn't bother me. I thought it looked fine. But looking back, you're like, whoa, that's rough. But you gotta respect them to actually get this onto the 3DS and actually playable on the 3DS. With how big and how many characters there are, with how much stuff are thrown into these Smash Bros. Games. And so, I think that's a good thing. Of course, talking about the modes that are in this game, there are a few differences in the 3DS and Wii U versions of the game. And like I said, these games are pretty much the exact same. But the 3DS, which happens to be the one that I had, because I didn't have the Wii U one, the 3DS had this mode which was called Smash Run. And Smash Run is like considered one of the best Smash Bros. Modes in a long time. I played Smash Run a lot when I was younger. I had a lot of fun with Smash Run. I thought it was very, very fun, and played a lot, put a lot of hours into this game. And they kind of brought it back in the next game a little bit. It's not really the same, but yeah, that's kind of like the big difference that the 3DS and Wii U versions had was 3DS had Smash Run, and which I guess people looking back consider that the better version now because of the Smash Run. So it's like, oh yeah, the 3DS version's better. And honestly, I would say so just because I played that the most when I was younger, because never had a Wii U. But yeah, Super Smash Bros. 4 for the Wii U and 3DS. Now, of course, we have the last Smash Bros. Game in the series, the final entry so far that we know of, because there is a Switch 2, and we don't know if there's going to be another game yet. But for right now, this is where it ended. This is the last final entry of the series, and that, of course, is Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Yeah, so Super Smash Bros. Ultimate for the Nintendo Switch came out in 2018, so as fairly new, fairly recent. That's still like 7 years ago, which is quite a long time, and is quite a big gap between the Smash Bros. Games, because there's really not many. There really hasn't been like very many big gaps between the making of these games. I know it took a while from Melee to Brawl, but you know, that still wasn't even that bad, because Melee is considered the best Smash Bros. Game. So people were playing that at the time then, really didn't care for the next game until obviously it came out. And you know, of course, after Brawl, you had the Wii U and 3DS, and then there was a pretty short gap between the Wii U and 3DS, Smash 4, and then of course, after year one of the Switch's launch, and I remember in E3 when Ultimate got announced, and that was a time to be alive. I can still remember when Smash Ultimate was announced. There was a lot of hype for this game, because the motto of this game was "Everyone is here," and of course that means everyone is here. So every single character from every single past Smash Bros. Game, the last 4, were all returning in this game. And not only just returning, but adding more characters to this game. A lot more third-party characters, not just first-party Nintendo characters. We were adding third-party and increasing the roster by a lot, which, of course, turned out to be 74 total characters when the game came out. Then, of course, later down the road, Sakurai announced DLC, of course, kind of like they did for Smash 4, and they had the 2 fighter passes. Well, I guess there was one free character, which was Prom Plant, and then there was the 2 fighter passes. The fighter passes all had, I think in total, 15 DLC characters all added later on, and so that gave a total roster, including the DLC, of 89 characters in this game, which is insane. But of course, you can play 8-player in this game. I forgot to mention that you could play 8-player in the last game, Smash 4. But of course, that they brought that back for Ultimate, because why wouldn't you? It's on the Switch. But yeah, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, graphics-wise, it's the best looking Smash game by far. It's actually still looks very, very good for a Switch game, I would say. I'm still surprised they haven't had an update for the Switch 2 for this game, just to make it look a lot better. And that's not even like hating on the game's graphics, because I think this game looks pretty good for a Switch 1 game. Gameplay wise, you know, it plays like a Smash game. It plays pretty similar to the previous games, especially Smash 4. You know, like if we're going like character wise, most of like the base characters, like Mario, Zelda, all of them, like playable, like their movesets, they've pretty much played the same since Smash 1. I say that they've played the same since Melee. They've had the same movesets. for a long time, which isn't a bad thing. But if we are gonna get another Smash Bros. Game, I say we change that up a little bit. But that, I mean, it balances out with all the other new characters they add, because it's like, are you really just gonna play Smash Bros. For Mario? Like, are we being for real right now? But yeah, so the modes in this game are really fun. I liked all the modes that they added. Of course, there was their newest mode, which was pretty much a story mode, which was the World of Light story mode, which was fun. I played through it all. I thought it was fun. I had fun with it. There was a lot of enjoyment I got out of it. It wasn't no Subspace Emissary though. There wasn't all those cool cutscenes. I think we got about, like, I don't know, maybe like 2, 3, something. Not very many cutscenes. But when they were cutscenes, I mean, they were cool. They looked amazing. They looked like they belong in an animated movie or something, because of how modern they look. So yeah, World of Light was fun. Like I said, it's not no Subspace Emissary. So if they are gonna make another Smash game, I say you do bring a story mode back, because I didn't hate World of Light. But if you are gonna bring a story mode, I say you bring in another Subspace Emissary. And I don't know if Smash I don't know if Sakurai wants to do that again, because at the time he got a lot of hate for it, because people didn't really know how to feel. But now people are like, oh yeah, Subspace Emissary, it's the best. And I'm like, I've never hated on it, and that might just because I kind of grew up with the game. But now people are like, oh yeah, bring Subspace Emissary back, new story mode with all these characters, 89 characters. But yeah, I don't know if they'll even do that, bring all of these characters back for Smash 6. They could do it. They could chop it down and start fresh, start from the beginning. I don't know if you can even really add any more. You could get to 100 characters. That would be cool. But it's like, most of these characters aren't even going to be really touched. But that's fine. But I will say, Sakurai did a really good job with these games. These games are like his precious little baby. They are definitely very special to him. And of course, they are, like I said from the beginning with Smash 64, these games are like a celebration for all the Nintendo games. And Smash Ultimate is a culmination of Everyone Is Here, which is every Nintendo first-party character you can think of, and more. There's collabs with third-party characters like, Sonic, Pac-Man, a lot more. I mean, shoot, the last DLC character was Sora, which is owned by Disney. And so Smash Ultimate really is a staple in the gaming industry. These are considered the best fighting games of all time. And I feel like Smash Ultimate is not only just a celebration of Nintendo characters, but I feel like it's just a celebration of video games as a whole. Video games in general, if you know what I mean. And so yeah, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. So that brings us back to the question, what is the best Smash Bros? Well, after talking about all 5 games, it's really hard to, because like I said in the beginning of the video, each game has a special place for anyone, for everyone. Like a game you might have grown up with and had the most nostalgia for might be your favorite, or you might just have your own opinion and might have your own personal favorite, like a game you didn't even grow up with, and that's totally fine. But looking back on all these games, especially for the first 2 games I wasn't even alive for, and I still love playing these games. I think Melee was awesome. But it's really hard to pick between like all of these games because I mean, people could say Smash 4 is the weakest and the worst in the series. And like I said, it's hard to pick because like Smash 4, I played the 3DS quite a bit. I played Smash Run a lot. I have a lot of nostalgia for that game, and so it's like, is it really the worst? But and then you could go like you could say like Smash N64 is the worst just because of how outdated it is. And yeah, that might be true, but it is the game that started it all. So you really have to give it that respect, and you have to give it that. Without Smash N64, you wouldn't have Melee, you wouldn't have Ultimate, you wouldn't have Brawl, you wouldn't have any of these games. So it is really hard to pick between all 5 of these games. I definitely would say, like, going back and playing Melee, I really enjoyed Melee. I thought it was an absolute masterpiece. Okay. But then you really gotta use your brain here for a second and think like really, what is the best Smash Bros. Game? And if you don't say it's Ultimate, I don't know what to tell you, because Ultimate has the most content out of all of these games combined. It has obviously the most playable characters, even in the base game without DLC. With DLC, it had 89 freaking characters compared to Smash 4's with DLC's 58. So that's a big leap, big step forward. And like I said, all the content that's in this game, this really is a culmination and a celebration of video games. And I have to say, Smash Ultimate is the best Smash Bros. Game. And I know there are debates whether Melee or Ultimate is the best, but we got to be realistic here. We got to use our brains. We got to see what's actually the best. Like content-wise, gameplay-wise, characters, all the things we've been talking about throughout this video. Smash Ultimate has the most out of all 5 of these games. So, Smash Ultimate is of course the winner of this video. Surprise, surprise. But I felt like I just needed to talk about that and give my thoughts and opinion, because I really could have picked Smash 3DS because I played that a lot when I was younger, or Smash Brawl because that was like my childhood Smash Bros. Game, or even Melee because I went back, I didn't even grow up with it, but I went back and played it and thought it was awesome. I genuinely think that's one of the better Smash Bros. Games, and that's why I know why there's the debate now between Melee and Ultimate. But we gotta be realistic here. Smash Ultimate is clearly the best, and I think that's totally fine and totally okay, because Smash Ultimate is really a masterpiece, and it's really gonna be hard for Sakurai to top this game. Well, I guess it's not gonna be really hard because it's Sakurai, bro's the GOAT. But like with how much stuff that is in this game, you would really think this is the last Smash Bros. Game. And I'm not speaking that into existence at all. I really want a Smash 6 for Switch 2. And I think that would be smart by Nintendo to make a Smash 6, because it would sell a lot more units for the Switch 2 if you had another Smash game on there. But I think it's going to be really hard to top Smash Ultimate. This is the 5th game in the series. It feels like a celebration of all the games as well, the past games, and it really does feel like the last game in the series. But I don't think it is. I think we'll get a Smash 6. But yeah, that's a video for another day. But yeah, I really just wanted to make this video talking about Sakurai's work that he's done, because he has a new game coming out very soon, and that is Kirby Air Riders, a sequel to Kirby Air Ride. all the way back on the GameCube. Sakurai is putting his heart and soul into this racing game, and I'm very excited for it, and I can't wait to play another Sakurai game and see what he's been cooking up. So yeah, that's really all I wanted to talk about today. If you haven't already subscribed, go ahead and do that down below. Super easy to do. You just press a button. You can if you want to. It helps me out. So there you go. We have a goal of hitting 500 subscribers. So yeah, that's all I wanted to talk about. So yeah.